I'm not sure that it would be physically possible to come up with a worse public statement if you tried. Here's what Trump's Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said on the All In podcast.
Let's say Social Security didn't send out their checks this month. My mother-in-law, who's 94, she wouldn't call and complain. She just wouldn't. She'd think something got messed up, and she'll get it next month.
Yeah.
A fraudster always makes the loudest noise, screaming, yelling, and complaining.
That seniors shouldn't call and complain if they stop getting their Social Security checks because it's the, quote, fraudsters who always make the loudest noise, screaming and complaining. In other words, if you don't get your Social Security check because the Trump administration has made the conscious decision to gut the Social Security Administration, then you better just shut your mouth, because if you raise a stink about it, then clearly you're committing fraud. Let me ask everyone in my audience right now who receives Social Security benefits, if you stopped receiving your checks, what would you say if I told you that any complaints mean that you're a fraudster? Elizabeth Warren made that exact point as well, posting, Donald Trump's billionaire commerce secretary has financial advice for Americans. 1, please buy Tesla stocks to help poor Elon Musk. 2, shut up and don't complain when you don't get your Social Security check. And to that exact point, it sure is easy for someone like Howard Lutnick to shame Social Security recipients when that guy is worth north of $2 billion. Don't you all see what's happening? Trump has assembled a cabinet with more billionaires than any other administration in the history of the United States of America, and these people instantly began attacking lifelines that working class Americans rely on. It was this administration that passed a budget blueprint that cut $880 billion from Medicaid, that cut $230 billion from food stamps, and now which is seeking to cut 7,000 jobs to stay in compliance with Trump's executive order as far as the Social Security Administration is concerned. And I want to be clear about what the goal is. It's not to outright eliminate Social Security, at least not right away. They're trying to cripple the agency from the inside so that they can do to Social Security what they do to every other government agency that they want to destroy, which is to ensure that it can't work and then use that dysfunction that they created as a pretense to gut the agency. They're going to destroy the Social Security Administration and then say, look, we told you that Social Security doesn't work. What choice do we have but to privatize it? Meaning they don't even have to eliminate the Social Security Administration. All they have to do is hobble it enough to give Republicans an excuse, a pretense to go all the way later on. It is a plan as insidious as it is transparent. And clearly, this plan is not working, considering even Republican voters in these town halls are showing that the issue is becoming more and more potent. This is at Chuck Grassley's town hall in that liberal bastion of Iowa.
We're now seeing that we don't want people to call on the phone to change their direct deposit. Go to a local office. Try to get an appointment at a local office. Right now, you're waiting a month, and we're going to cut more staff. This is not right. And we do not want to see Social Security privatized. I know.
And I want to be clear about something here. The way that you know you can't trust Republicans as far as Social Security is concerned is because they are already doing the thing that they swore up and down they would never do, and that is to touch Medicaid. Again, the budget blueprint they all unanimously voted for prescribed $880 billion in cuts to the committee that funds that program. And of course, they're all saying that they didn't outright cut Medicaid, but that's actually a clever little ploy, because while they didn't cut Medicaid specifically, while they didn't cut it outright, they did prescribe cuts to the committee that funds Medicaid. And the only mathematical way to cut $880 billion to the Energy and Commerce Committee is to cut Medicaid. See how they're perfectly content to play games thinking that you're too stupid to know any better? If they'll do that to Medicaid, which is a crucial lifeline for over 70 million Americans, do you really think that they hold any earned benefit program sacred? Clearly not. And that's a point that AOC drove home in our recent interview.
What Republicans say is, oh, these big budget cuts don't actually say the word Medicaid in it, so they aren't Medicaid cuts. But if I tell you what's 10 minus 4, and you say 6, I can just tell you I didn't say 6.
Right.
But they put the 10 minus 4 into the bill.
By virtue of ascribing $880 billion in cuts to energy and commerce, and the
That's
only
right.
mathematical way for them to cut $880 billion is to focus on Medicaid.
That's right. They're saying cut $880 billion from the Energy and Commerce Committee. I sit on that committee. And Energy and Commerce, almost the entire budget that Energy and Commerce really explores is Medicaid and Medicare. There is no way that they can make their math square without enormous and devastating cuts to Medicaid.
The sad reality is that to the GOP and to Trump's billionaire cabinet, this is all a game. These lifelines that Americans rely on, whether it's Medicaid, food stamps, Social Security, education funding, veterans programs, cancer research funding, and on, are dispensable to these billionaires because they don't need them. They don't rely on Social Security checks every month. They don't rely on Medicaid every month. In fact, the most insidious part is that they know full well that the people that they're targeting are the folks with the least amount of political power. Take Medicaid, for example. The folks on Medicaid are low income and children. Those are people who don't have a lot of political power. In other words, they are the easiest target. Republicans know that they want to cut healthcare, but they want to do so with minimal political consequences. And so in the same way that they target gay people and trans people and minorities and any other marginalized community, here they've decided that their easiest target is Medicaid recipients. And that's a point that I made during an interview on Zateo. And I think what's even more depraved about this is they went after Medicaid, but not Medicare. And that's because they made a political calculation that because the folks who are recipients of Medicare, those are seniors, are a more powerful voting bloc, that they wouldn't touch that, but that because Medicaid is composed of low-income folks and children, that these are people who don't have political power. Yep. And so their goal was to strip away healthcare from Americans, but they only wanted to do it when they could suffer the least amount of political consequence for that. And I think that that's the most depraved part, because they decided to cherry pick where it would hurt them the least, while they were purposefully searching out for the people who would have the least political power, while they were looking to take their healthcare away in this country. The truth is that these people are already previewing what their priorities are. At best, they just have a fundamental disdain for working class Americans. But at worst, they're acting in a way that suggests that they aren't even vying for your votes at any point in the future. I mean, think about it. Touching earned benefits like Social Security is the third rail of American politics. You don't do it unless you want to get decimated at the ballot box in the upcoming election. The fact that Republicans are barreling ahead with a sense of full impunity right now suggests that perhaps they're not worried at all about the prospect of ever facing voters again. Now, I don't want to sound alarmist, but I really don't want to sound naive. We are in a constitutional crisis right now, and we ignore the risks that are staring us in the face at our own peril. I don't say this as a Democrat, I say this as an American. I say this as someone who has paid into earned benefit programs my whole life and who fully expects to take advantage of them when I'm older. I say this as someone whose parents and grandma get Social Security checks and certainly want to continue getting them. I say this as somebody who has enough empathy and compassion that I don't want to see anybody lose their lifelines, all because some billionaire like Elon Musk or Howard Lutnick or anybody else in Trump's cabinet has decided that federal money would be better spent on their own businesses. The fight of our time is not left-wing versus right-wing, it is the haves versus the have-nots. I will spend every day on this planet fighting not for the people who already have everything they could ever need, but expressly for the people who don't. If that's a fight that you're willing to have, then I hope you'll all subscribe to this channel and fight alongside me.